Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Teachings. Well guys, really good day today. A lot of plays, a lot of good plays, and really green day. So we'll discuss all that. Before that, let's have a quick introduction. If anybody new for my videos or new follower on Twitter or YouTube. Alright guys, these recaps and teachings are from my trades, any trades my traders are taking in my communities, any ideas I am giving, or any ideas from my community, and anything I share on Twitter, any day trades, swing trades, any ideas. So we try to recap, we try to see where we made money, where we lost money, and we always do repeatable setups. We don't trade random. We stay with the trend. We do not gamble against the trend. If our setup shows up, we follow the setup. So we have very fixed setups every day, long and short. We don't have a fixed bias. So we recap those, and every day, a few hours before the market open, my team, we are up early. We go through all the pre-market notes. We share with our community. We share all the pre-market movers 1, any analyst notes, upgrades, downgrades, and then I create a game plan for the day, which we call the news play game plan. This was the game plan for today: NVIDIA, RIVN, ETC, MRNA, FIVN, FVRR, SMCI, DO-W. Most of these game plans really panned out. There were a few ideas which did not work. We will talk about them as well. Then I also create the levels. Me and my team, we create the levels for the day to trade off these levels, either long or short. So that helps the traders trading with those levels. Based upon these Ripster EMA clouds. So, and then we also have something called day 2, day 3 setups, and and I go live on voice at open for first few hours. I'm live on the voice, guiding my community through the trades, what I'm seeing, what trades are looking good, what setups are looking good, the market environment, and all that. So to have a successful, positive, good trading day, we try to preserve our capital. If we're taking losers, we try to cut them quick. If we're trying to make winners, we let them run. So that's how we execute. So that being said, let's start with the recap for today. The first play we are going to look at is AMD. This was one of the best plays for us today. Let's see how we managed it, how we traded it. You can see my live timestamp guidance on the left, although I was on the voice as well. So let's see what was our plan and what we were doing with AMD, right? So AMD was it was a NVIDIA sympathy play. If you watch my yesterday's recap, if you watch my NVIDIA analysis, I told you how these earnings are so good for the semiconductor sector, how these earnings are just so good for the overall sector, and how AMD can benefit from it. So plan was simple, guys. So what was the plan for AMD? The plan was that there was support pivot at 170, 166. And there was a resistance at 175. 175 was the breakout, and 171 area was a key for us, right? So if you see, I did not take it right out of the gate. I showed some patience. I wanted to see, does it hold the clouds or it does not hold the clouds. But as soon as the market opens, I watch it first 5 minutes. I saw the strength. That's where I tell everybody to go long. That's where we long in first 5 minutes. AMD, if you want, I can go to 5 minutes chart, and then we can look at that. So we long at 174s, and then it's all about the managing trade and adding your position over the breakout of 175. The 175 I breakout told in the pre-market plan. You can see that 175 breakout right here, and then you add into your position. You could take any calls, any strikes you want. I'm usually trading shares, but I also share any strikes you want. For example, 175 calls were pretty good for this AMD trade. 175 for the option traders went 300% today. So let's look at what my guidance. So my guidance was simple. I was giving the next targets. My first target was 176. We met it. My second target was 177.40. We met that target, and then holding the 512 EMA cloud, and then comes the 10 AM flag breakout right here. So this is the 10 AM flag breakout where you can risk right under that candle. 10 AM flag breakout, and the next target is 180.50. The 180.50 is the level from the daily chart that I had, and that we got that target as well. So how you trade it, you add full size starter, full size, then you let it work. If you miss the first trade, you trade the flag break, your stops under the low of these candles, trade the flag breaks, you ride. As soon as your targets are meeting, you take one third off, and then if you take fully off, then you roll into the next option Lotos, right? That's what I was telling everybody. You could roll into the next Lotos. I gave 182.5 as the next possible Lotos which you can roll in, and even those Lotos went up 30-40% after the trade. So anyways, my final target was 185. We did not meet that. We met 183.80, so we were short of our final target, but by that time this was a profitable trade. Everybody was green. Amazing trade. Overall a 300% were the calls, and the stock from our entry, almost went $9 per share. Beautiful win. Defined risk, A plus setup there. Today it was an A plus setup. So this was A plus over the 20 EMA. You can see that moving over 20 EMA, moving over the daily breakouts. Right here there was another daily breakout, 180.50. Now we are looking at tomorrow for all-time high breakout, and that will be our day 2 setup on AMD, and we will be trading it. All right guys, let's move to the next one. All right guys, so the next one we are going to look at is NVIDIA. All right guys, so what was the plan on NVIDIA? Let's go back and check it out. So NVIDIA guys, again, this it was a big play of the day. We discussed it yesterday. The support was 743, 789. Resistance was 775, 759. I said under 745, 60 can be profit taking, fade, and watch that previous all-time highs breakout as well. So plan was simple. We let it do the profit taking dip, and then it tells us what we need to do, right? So that was a simple plan. And in the morning there was a profit taking. You could see a little profit taking right under the cloud, right? So right under the cloud there was a profit taking, and look at this level, right? This is the level that we discussed in the pre-market. Look here. So that was the level on NVIDIA, 743 area. So what do you see? There's a wick at 743 area. Exactly, not random. There is a wick at 743 area. And when I saw that, and of course I went long AMD, but this was a long as well, and I said on the voice that you can use 744 as your stops, scalp pullbacks, or use that as a risk, right? And then it was all about having our targets. NVIDIA, the first target was 775, and 775 was coming, 775 was coming, and the 775 target came soon enough, right? It came at 10 a.m. and after that it went into a consolidation phase. 780 was my first target. We did meet that 780 target by 10:30, but then it went into a consolidation phase, right? But it was still in the trend. There was a seller here. I mentioned a seller here. There was still in the trend, and this was the midday setup that I often discuss in my webinars. Right, there's downtrend line is the midday setup on NVIDIA, and then it reclaimed, it pushed under. So it broke the 512s, right? So when it breaks 512, you can take the profits, and then you wait for either to bounce from 3450 or you wait for reversal on the 512 clouds. And that's when I mentioned that it reclaimed 512. I mentioned that right when it reclaimed, you see here, it was 2 o'clock, and that's when I mentioned reclaimed 512, and then boom, there was a breakout out of the 780, and then it's gapping up higher, right? So as all-time high breakout, you need to look at the daily chart. So what was the setup on NVIDIA? Right here, daily chart. I'm rolling some Lotos here, so let's see what happens tomorrow. Will be interesting. Bigger position in AMD than NVIDIA, so will be fun tomorrow. But you need to look at this daily chart. So this was the breakout, guys. So this was the breakout retest. That was NVIDIA setup. It was all about this 750, 746 area. If it's holding that, it's clearly bullish. Yes, we are trading the 10 minutes, but also we are looking at NVIDIA daily chart. That gives us conviction right here. Look here, look here. So you look at the both things and you understand how the daily charts play a big part into the NVIDIA breakout trade and why we were risking that area, right? 744s from here and then 750 from daily chart. And look at it, it's almost 50 bucks up from where our bounce levels were. So beautiful trade, NVIDIA, AMD, big green all day guidance for us in the community. Very proud of how my traders in the community traded this. All right, let's look at next one. So next one that was good for us was Meta. Meta was main plate this morning, because it was over the pivots. Let's go back to our levels today. The levels I gave on Meta this morning were 476.75 and 480.70 was our breakout pivot, and the 487 breakout pivot breaks out and Meta's rallies from there all the way to 490, right? So I saw the strength. I told everybody we can scalp those using the EMA cloud risk or using the pre-market high breakout, and the first resistance was 485.41. That was my first target that I gave everybody. I gave the target at 10 a.m. 485.41, and we met that target pretty soon. And then after taking that target, 488 was the next one. I told everybody we can leave the runners, because why? We are holding the 512 EMA cloud trend. We did not break the 512 EMA cloud trend. Yes, there was this pullback, but watch it. It was a reset, still held that level, the morning breakout, and then it kept going, right? It kept going, and it was initially very short of our target here, but then it reclaimed. And once after that reclaiming, and I told everybody you can just profit roll into the next options, and finally it breaks 512, and that's when you get out. But Meta all day long, beautiful trade. If you didn't watch the guidance, we had the levels from pre-market. That should help you. And these are the trades where you let your runners run and make big money. All right, guys, next one we are going to talk about my morning loser, which I mismanaged this morning. Let's look at what was that one. That was MRNA trade. So MRNA trade, what I was trying to do was I was trying to trade a breakout of MRNA out of 96. What was the plan on MRNA? Let's first go back and look at the plan before we even see what I did. So the support was 90.91, the breakout was 93.70 and 96, 90.91. So let's first look at the support pivot that I gave everyone. Support pivot that I gave everyone never broke, right? So you see that support pivot. Now how did we trade it? So I started long, I was trying to trade the amateur trade for this breakout. The breakout failed, and then it pulled back, and then I added some, and then it started to pull back. I knew it could pull to 90 or 91 because that was the support. But since I had an amateur trade entry higher, so I risked losing more money, and by the time it went to 90 bucks, right? I was going to lose $3 or more per share. So I had to cut it. So I got out of MRNA for my trend trade. Then I was watching if it breaks 90 or 91 or not, then I could short it. You can see my live guidance here. I was long, pullback ads, then I was out. It was in 5 minutes I made a decision, get in, get out. Do not, if I don't like it, I'm out. I don't think twice, right? And then I was watching if I want to short it or not. But it became bullish. It became bullish. You can see here, it became bullish right here. And that's what I said. MRNA bullish again, do not short. Amateur did not work, but keep the eyes, and then that's what happened. So that is the trend trade. That was the morning 10-minute, 15-minute, 10 a.m. trade where you watch this secondary move, you long it, your stops are at 90, 91, the levels I gave in the pre-market, then you long it, right? And that's why I said I keep eyes. That's why I said it's again bullish, right? And back on the highs, and then there's a breakout. This was the breakout we were expecting in the morning, but breakout came a little later. But look at that breakout. The stock went 200. That was the target I gave everybody on MRNA. I said first target 98. I gave second target 99, 100, and then 100 target met. It went on to 101 from 100, right? So that's how, if you were loser in the morning, you reposition yourself. And I'm more proud of the people who traded, my traders who traded much better than me. They traded much better than I traded on MRNA, and they traded the trend move, right? I already spoiled it with my amateur move trade, but I made sure I guide my traders that how, what's it's doing, what's not doing. And Fahad went from red to green. He made real good money. MRNA was really nice setup. Blue Zenith did really good. So it was a good setup, right? It was a good setup. So you can see how we can make mistakes and how can we rectify them. So it's very important to analyze this MRNA trade. If you took a loss and moved on, then you missed the other opportunity, because the stock didn't do anything wrong. The stock didn't do anything wrong. The bias was there, the trend was there. Stock followed the system. Yes, it broke 512 EMAs, but it held 3450, it held 1991. It was my execution which was wrong initially, but after that, my thesis was correct, right? So anyways, wanted to cover that loser. It's a lot to learn from this loser, and then finally turned winner for the community. So beautiful trade. You have to be proud of the execution. I'm very proud of that execution, that I managed the risk. I'm not proud of my entries, but the way I manage the risk, I'm proud of it, right? But my entry could have been better, but this is the part of game. When pre-market amateur move fails, you can see the seller was still there. The seller was there all day until the seller got cleared and we got the push. All right, guys, now let's look at our trade of SMCI. Let's go back and look at the morning plan on SMCI. The morning plan on SMCI was quite simple. What was the morning plan? The morning plan on SMCI was support was 811, 800. The resistance pivot was 864, 850. And 810. I said only long if 810 holds, if 800, 810 basis. That was the plan. And what did SMCI do? It never broke 810 level. You see my price alerts right there. Never broke 810 11. And we were trading AMD and we were trading NVDA, but it was also the sympathy of the same sector. Now, where that is good and fine with my morning analysis, but where the real move came was at 900. So one of the traders asked me, hey Rip, how are we going to do this at 900? And that's what I talked about on the voice, that over 900 the shorts will have to cover, right? So shorts will have to cover. So let's look at it. Let's look at it. So we can go back. So we were talking about this SMC 900, testing 900. I told everybody that we are going to squeeze because the shorts are going to cover over the psychological level, right? And that's why everybody was trading SMCI at that point. You can see in the community, everybody was trading SMCI as soon as the target broke out, and that's it. And the first target was, we went 929. The second target was 950. You can see here. And then 950 target met. I told the shorts are really sitting at 1K. They are just hoping that it doesn't stop out. And then 975 targets, 1000 target. By end of the day, all my targets met. So that was even if you took the 900 breakout, that was $100 a share. All you needed was 100 shares, right? You risk $1,000 and you make $5,000-6,000. So that was the kind of trade that SMCI was, just on 100 shares. The power of this trade setup, risk reward. So there was a setup, there was a pre-market high breakout setup, there was entry in the morning when I gave 810 risk, right? Then there was entry at 900 breakout where you could put a stops of like $15 or $20 and try to make $50-60, right? So this is so clean, guys. This is like so clean, great opportunities. And remember, the 512 Ripster clouds held. As long as they hold, you hold. Use my new labels. All right, guys, let's look at some other plays this morning from pre-market. The next one was run. I told everybody we need to short the run. What was the plan on run? The plan on the run was simple today. Under the clouds can fade, neutral biases. The pivot was 1420. As soon as the market opened, I told everyone watch the pops to short. And what happens? The 1420 pivot breaks and we fade on the run all day from 1420 to 1259. $1.50 short there. Beautiful guidance. Look at the pre-market plan. A+. Clearly, I was bearish on these setups. I was bearish on FVRR. I was bearish on FVN. So let's quickly go and look at our next setup. So run was another successful short winner for us. Next one, we're going to look at RIVN. This is the one I shared on Twitter as well. Yesterday, I was bearish on RIVN. But the problem with RIVN was it was already giving up so much meat in the pre-market. So I was like, I knew it's going to 11 bucks, all-time lows. Look at the daily. This is an A plus short. They held this, try to hold this all-time lows. And so there was not much meat left. But still, regardless, let's see how our planned out. So RIVN, 1230 was a support pivot, bearish to short the pops, PM lows, room to all-time lows. I said that, and what happened? SMCI fades all the way to 11, right? And then they held 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There was a big buyer here. He swiped it for 1 hour, and then it curled, and you stop out. But you still were green from the short in the morning, 1180s to 11. Decent risk reward, risking 30 cents, making 80 cents. That was not bad. All right, guys, next one we are going to look at is FVRR. So what was the plan on FVRR? Let's see. The plan of FVR was simple. I gave the plan on FVRR, bearish bias to short the pops. Bearish bias to short the pops. The support was 24. And what happens? 24 gives up. 24 remains a resistance all day. I say short the pops. And look the pop right into 24 pivot and fade all day from 24 to 21.85, $2 per share short, exactly as per the guidance in the pre-market. Beautiful trade. All you need is a one trade. If you traded this one, you should be proud of this. This was an A plus short on FIVR as given by the guidance in the pre-market. I put a star there as well because I was bearish bias to short the pop. Clearly very good trade. All right, guys, let's look at the next one. So next one was similar to FBVR. It was FIVN. So FIVN, I personally didn't trade it. I was busy in other trades, but let's see how our plan panned out. FIVN, bearish bias to short the pop, 64.25. 65 was the pivots to break down, and the 65 pivot was never reclaimed. Push, fade. Never got over 3450 EMA cloud. It just had a little range, but it was still good. Once that 65 was failing, yes, if you short here and then you watch 65s, never really closed over 65s, and you short it all day, short the pops, lower highs. Let's look at Etsy. Etsy is the one that kind of Etsy really chopped out today. So that was a kind of losing idea because of this chop. The plan on Etsy was simple in the pre-market. The plan on Etsy was only long if 72 holds. If that breaks, we are bearish bias. And when it was breaking down, then I thought it's a short, but then this is why I back it up, right? And even though I gave everybody a confirmation that 70-30 needs to break, but it was choppy. This is not the trade that I want. This is where you lose money. So you just get out if it chops for a long time. You want to see lower highs, lower lows on your shorts. And Etsy was not doing that. So Etsy was a loser today because of this job. That's fine. As long as you understand why it was a loser and why other plays were winners, we are fine. CrowdStrike was a day 2 winner today. If you remember my yesterday's call, a video call, I did talk about CrowdStrike that I want to focus on CrowdStrike as day 2. So if we go back to our day 2 setups, let's look at the day 2 setup. The CrowdStrike 292.300 and resistance pivot was 307.50. I was on a voice, I was talking about just this 300 level on CrowdStrike, which was important, and it held the 300 psychological level. Look at that, 300 psychological level left, and traders were already long before I said anything. They were already long. That's why I'm proud of my traders in my community, because they are so smart and they know the setups, they're learning the setups, and all I had to do was to give them the levels, right? Just the levels, and I gave the levels like 315. I gave them 315 target, and we were close to our 315 target. But you can see JRM did so good on CRWD, and that's their own execution. These traders are trading their own execution. I help with my guidance and teachings from what I have learned, but this is what makes you a true successful traders, not the alerts. Remember that. I'm just want to look at Robologs. So Robologs, guys. I've been watching all these Cathy names. I like Robologs for swing, and that's why I had some price alerts on Robologs. And then Robologs price alerts started to hit, and I guess my traders in the community liked the Robologs and what I was saying. and they traded it, right? So this was the price alert. You can see 41.54. This breakout was what I set as on a price alert, and then Stephen was doing good job on RBLX, you know. So Stephen, very, you know, proud of Stephen, you know, smart trader there. And I think NavCaddy was trading it as well. And you know, they just asked me the price targets, and I just gave them the price targets. Not my personal trade. I was watching it for a swing trade, and I want to do it a swing trade, but my traders were much smarter in executing than me, and they nailed it this today. Very proud of them, each one of them. RBLX, beautiful. All right, guys, let's look at a Lotto play, SNPS from the pre-market. And what was the plan on SNPS? The plan on SNPS was pretty simple today. Bullish bias Lotto play. The pivot was 574. And what did SNPS do? Let's look here. What did SNPS do? So SNPS, and traders were trading the Lottos on SNPS. There was not much volume, but the only Lotto you could really trade was 600, which had kind of a decent volume, and or you could trade 100 shares, right? So SNPS over that pivot did push to 610, and I told everybody only hold if 600 hold, and then it finally broke down 600. That could have been a nice B minus 512 short, but you know, it did push a little, you know, 20 points. Very illiquid name. But now the daily is very bearish, so tomorrow we will watch it for our day 2 fade for this gap fill. So you know, we want to keep an eye here because this the candle is very bearish. But anyways, that's what was the plan today. All right, there's a special mention on the Wing. Wing was on my watch list, but I removed it. But kudos to guidance by Drew. He was on top of Wing since morning. Right, so the mistake I did was I removed Wing from my watch list because there was no volume in the pre-market, and I removed from my watch list, from my game plan, but Drew was on it, and this makes me so proud. And because it was an A plus setup, it was all-time highs, breakout of all-time highs, and look at the push on that Wing stop, right? If you watch Drew's guidance today on Wing, you know, he told everyone it's all-time high breakout, upgrade, stellar earnings, you know, easy long, and great guidance by him. You know, cleanest price action. That was very impressive, right? So this was one of those trades. You know, by that's the power of my community, our community, because so many ideas, so many smart minds, smarter than me. It's just you know. So proud of being there and you know, trading with all these smart people. All right, guys, let's wrap up with SPY QQQ today. What SPY QQQ was doing. SPY QQQ trade was pretty simple today all day. I was tweeting about it all day as well. It was long all day. It was never bearish. It held the clouds. Look at this, and that was my voice guidance. It held the clouds. Then there's this flag break. I tweeted about this flag break. I can show you guys that. If you want to see that, let's see if I can show you that. All right, let's look at here. Let's see. So this was the flag break that I was talking about on SPY QQQ, right? It was a flag break here. You can see there before, and it was not even at that time. It did not even move, right? You know, it did not even move. And I had it tweeted it to my followers, and if you look at it, what it did afterwards, you see that, right? That's what it did afterwards. So that was a SPY. So SPY, right? So you see that, see that, see that, right? So that was the recap on the SPY QQQ trade. So that was the SPY QQQ SPY SPX trades today, guys. Solid day. Will be ready for tomorrow. All right, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Later. Bye bye.